Yo, yo, yo. Welcome back into another edition of Jake's Takes. I am your host, Jake Masucci, and today we got another edition of the show. Today I got on my guy, Asher Smith. We are going to talk about, he went to the Big Ten Tournament Championship, so we'll talk about that a little bit. And then we switch over and we're going to do the first edition of the Jake's Takes March Madness bracket. We're going to fill it out together. We'll decide who we want. We go through all of the first round games in this podcast episode. If you want to get our full picks, we have an additional video just on YouTube, YouTube only, of us discussing the second round all the way through. So this episode will discuss the first round matchups, what you need to know, focus on the specifics there, and then we pick it up again on YouTube later on. So without further ado, I'm going to cue the music. All right, welcome back into the show, and I am super excited to be joined by my guy, Asher Smith. He's back with us, and Asher is finally here. We have a bracket. March Madness is here. I'm pumped.
I'm so excited, man. I mean, best 2 days of the year for me. Selection Sunday, prediction Monday. I mean, this is a tradition now, so I can't wait to get into it.
For sure. So let's jump right into it. Let's start Big Ten Championship. It was a crazy game, like absolutely wild. I was at my house. Well, first of all, I had to run 19 miles in my marathon training. So I was running and watching this first half of the game, and I'm like, God, I need to finish this and get home because this is an awesome game. But you were at the game. So I want to focus on like your thoughts. And of course, you're a Michigan fan. It was a really tough blow. That was a fantastic game, though. And it was the first time they played close games. So talk to me about your opinion as a Michigan fan and then your opinion as a former manager.
Yeah, I think that I definitely went because I was interested to see Michigan play in person. I saw them one more time this year at Northwestern, and it's just like a different level of basketball seeing these guys because they're so tall, right? Like they run a different style than majority of the college basketball games you'll see. So it's really cool to see in person. And like as a fan, I wanted to get another experience to do that, especially against Purdue, who plays out of their big. So super fun game. Definitely something I was like hoping that if they both won on Saturday, I'd be able to grab a ticket because Sunday had that earmarked for a while. Definitely made me feel good as a Jake's Takes predictor that my top two Big Ten teams made it to the Big Ten final as well. So a little bit self-serving there, but no, it was great. I think it answered a lot of questions for definitely Michigan fans, probably Big Ten fans as well. Sure, it opened some, but I think that coming into the Big Ten tournament, it felt like a one-team league, not trying to pump up Michigan, but people were wondering in terms of March, like who could make a deep run, right? It seemed like Michigan and then a bunch of teams that maybe could turn it on, but could they do it for 6 games? I think Purdue definitely showed that right off the bat, being a 7 seed in the Big Ten and going all the way to the final. Those are the type of games that you're going to see the next 3 weekends, and Purdue matched up to it. I thought that they really shut Michigan down in terms of pace of play. That's like what Purdue is known for. But in order to do that, you have to make shots. And they were hitting the 10 to 6 footers that Michigan will frankly give you. They have bigs to, contest these shots, but Trey Kaufman-Renn and Braden Smith were attacking that middle of the floor because they knew once they got past the pick and roll, it was going to be pretty open, and they were able to score. And obviously, buckets are what's going to get you to the next round. Like they need to be able to score. Defense is great. It will win championships or at least keep you in the game as it has for Michigan the whole year. But Michigan did not make the shots that they needed to, right? So all credit to Purdue. They're an amazing team. They're definitely going farther in my bracket now, and I think probably a lot of people's brackets. Lenardi had them as a 4 seed maybe a month ago, and now they're all the way up to a 2. So it shows you that conference tournaments aren't meaningless, right? That word gets thrown around a lot with these power fours now that it's, super leagues, we'll call them, because there's so many teams. They're not meaningless. Purdue really advanced their spot, got a much better draw because of how they played, and now they're ready for March too, right? They're peaking. For Michigan side, I think that it was the tournament you wanted, right? It was the tournament you wanted up until that last game. They came out, looked a little flat, as most teams with a bye do against Ohio State. Were able to pull it together, had some big games from Trey McKinney, who's been called upon a lot now that LJ Kaysen is injured. And then going into Wisconsin, a team that had beaten you in the regular season, how can Dusty adjust to a team that's shown him something different? Because both the Wisconsin and Duke losses seemed like he was out coached, right? Seemed like they had a little bit more of a plan for this is how you beat a three-headed monster in Michigan. So they were able to come out and beat it. Jax Landenberg obviously playing a lot better, Big Ten Player of the Year now, right? Playing a lot better and able to hit some big time shots. So the tournament you wanted up until this Purdue game, but for the third time this year, Purdue showed you how to beat Michigan, right? Out physical them, get to the spots where they're not going to guard you, obviously make some clutch buckets, but then control the pace once you have that lead. It really took Michigan out. And I think the biggest question mark for Michigan now is injuries, right? Is that LJ Cason injury brutal for pushing the floor, right? Maybe getting a run on teams to put them into that double digit deficit, right? I think that was something Michigan did a lot at the beginning of the year, and I didn't see that the last 10 games. So he was really a big piece of that. So they're going to have to find some people that maybe they're more defensive guards. They're going to have to step up and really push the floor like Elliot Cadeau can do. But he's not going to be able to play 40 minutes a game, right? You're going to need these other guards, more defensive guards, to be able to push and get to the big guys because they were definitely under Purdue's control that whole game.
Yeah, the one thing I really noticed, like, we played these 2 teams really early in the season, right? And the thing with Purdue was, like, their defense just looked so much better, you know? They were really getting guys in difficult spots where they weren't able to score as well. You saw Mara have a couple great post moves and stuff like that. I love what Dusty's doing with his minutes, like, right before the
Agreed.
media timeouts, he's taking them out, which is perfect because that allows him to avoid foul trouble and then be in situations that are absolutely huge. This Big Ten tournament was a real plus that I saw Dusty doing that. But also with Purdue, like you saw them just attack Mara, which is something that no team has done because Mara's what is it? His paint defense is like the best
Yeah.
in college basketball. It makes everybody like shoot way worse. It's the same thing with Wembanyama in the NBA. You know, like you have a tall big like that, you're gonna have problems finishing at the rim, right? And Mara is no different. You know, and then looking at Purdue though, like it's Kaufman Ren, but it's also Oscar Clough and how he's developed. Clough really was awesome in this game. You know, he's just going in dunker spots like at a great pace. He's always in the right spot. Braden Smith can hit him with the dump offs. You know, he's grabbing offensive rebounds. And especially in that first half when I was really closely watching, like Clough was missing a lot of those inside, but you could tell by the way he was physically like moving Mara that I was like, oh, this is going to be a problem for Michigan near the end of this game because Michigan's playing their 3rd game in 3 days. Purdue's also playing their 4th game in 4 days, but they looked like the more physical team. Kaufman Rem was going right into Merez Johnson. Clough doing the same thing. Braden Smith having the game where he has 12 assists, 20 points, you know? And then Fletcher Lawyer and CJ Cox. And Cox is another guy that if he's hitting shots too, they're a really difficult team to deal with. I love Jack Benner off their bench and then Meyer off their bench as well. Purdue's playing at a really elite level, which I'm super excited for. And I think we talked about it off camera. It might have been on camera, but that LJ Cason loss is just huge. It's a huge loss for Michigan. It hurts their guard play. Now in close games like that, if you're looking for somebody to step up, it's really difficult for them. I don't think Burnett's really playing up to the standard that Michigan needs him to play because he needs to take a step up. He's their starting 2 guard. He's been their starting 2 guard, but you don't have guys like Kaysen coming in to help you out, you know? And those are huge. Those are absolutely huge. Michigan's kind of dealing with the injury bug. Duke's kind of dealing with the injury bug. And I'm super excited to see how those 2 top tier teams that we've talked about all year deal with this and figure this out. Like it's going to make us ask the question, should we pick these teams in this tournament? That's going to be really interesting.
Agreed. I think injuries are definitely at play here when you're picking your bracket, or at least predictive measures of how is the team, saying getting hot in March, right? Did they get a guy back or are they rested? That's definitely something because the teams that haven't lost, they probably haven't lost many of their guys, right? So a couple of them now have gotten banged up. That's natural. I think we just got to figure out which guys are going to step up, right? If that's Michigan, if that's Duke, if that's Arizona, you won 30 plus games, you probably sacrificed one body on the way, right? Who's going to step up next? I think going back to the game I saw as a fan, it was just awesome to see every fan on their feet getting involved. It really felt like March. Purdue travels so well. Michigan's in the Chicago bracket, as we saw in the Midwest. So great experience for them to get 3 games in a row, right, at this stadium. Now, is it going to pay off? So it was really cool to see that blood flow, and every single tournament that I watched this weekend had it. So just a really exciting time to be a fan. And yeah, I'm excited to, put these teams into a real bracket and see how they do.
Super excited, yeah. I mean, it's finally time. It's that March Madness time, and I figured during this podcast, we've always, like, talked about the games and stuff. Let's make our first Jake and Asher bracket and see if we can make some noise, get a good bracket. I don't expect perfect, but as long as we got, like, a good Final Four, I'll feel good.
Putting the stamp on this one. I like it.
Exactly, exactly, doing an official one. So Imma share my screen here, we'll go through each of these games. We're gonna start in Duke's bracket, which is the East. So, Duke's playing Siena, of course. We're probably gonna pick Duke, I'd assume, right?
Yeah, I mean, this may be again biased, but I have no 16 upsets. So let's say Duke gets it by this one.
Love it, love it. So throw Duke in there, and then Ohio State, TCU. This game is interesting because TCU has had up and down moments. Again, played Michigan close like early in the year, right?
Yeah.
And they were an up and down team in that stacked Big 12. So they're a really interesting team. Ohio State's been firing though. So talk to me a little bit about what you've seen from Ohio State.
Yeah, I think we'll get a lot of these in this bracket, but this is a game where they're looking at Duke on the other end, like, holy cow, you know? So it could be a really quick one for this. The interesting part about this game is something that I put my stamp on last year is it's the first game of the tournament. So whichever one you and I pick, opposite one's happening, right? This is the one that your bracket's gonna be done after the first games. Luckily, I don't think anyone has these two going far, but watch for that first 8 games of the year. Usually one major upset happens, so we'll keep our eye on it. I'd say in terms of both teams having ups and downs, TCU has better wins. I'd go TCU here. Ohio State can keep it close with anybody. They have a all Big Ten Bruce Thornton, but TCU was able to at least get some wins in that amazing Big 12. Ohio State kind of just kept it at their own level in the Big Ten, so I'd say TCU.
Okay, I like it. I'm gonna go with you here. I have Ohio State. I like how Bruce Thornton's playing, but I do like TCU. Like these are two teams and I heard a lot of people say this, and I completely agree. But these are two teams where it's like, seriously, you're gonna put them into 8 and 9 against each other, and then they have to play Duke. Like that's just brutal, you know?
It is. It shows you the difference between a couple shots getting to a 7 seed, you know? It's really crazy. Like, these games matter in January, so we'll see a lot of those matchups, but this is one for sure right off the bat. Like, these are 2 teams that would've been dangerous as a 6 or 7, fell to an 8 and 9, so
Yeah. Talk about a game that's absolutely brutal. We've talked about Northern Iowa a lot off camera, and then they were our mid-major spotlight early in the year. Um, and of course, they have to go against St. John's, which, like it's a really interesting matchup that I'm really curious to hear your opinion on.
yeah, this was tough. I mean, we kind of had our eye on Northern Iowa since November, and once they, fell off in their own conference, we were a little skeptical, like, is this team we thought they had the roster to do something in March, but, if they can't win in their own conference, what are they gonna do against the big boys? But then conference tournament, we saw them come alive, right? We really saw them shoot the ball well and do the stuff that we thought like a not a Cinderella, but maybe an upset, like, watch team would do. Um Pains me to see them against the Big East champion, right? Obviously, St. John's is there for a reason, right? They lost some big games during the year, but we talked about a bunch. I love Zuby Edgefor. I think he's amazing. And this is definitely a game where you can take him out, right? Spread the floor, hopefully get the big guys moving. But if you can beat UConn like they did during this season, it's going to be really tough. So I might defer to you on the selection here, but my heart's leaning St. John's. I just, might need to be swayed if you're going the other way.
Yeah, this game, like I told myself they're my upset team. Like they're the team that I absolutely love. I saw them play in person. They literally have the best defensive rating in college basketball. Like they're an awesome defensive team. And I still believe that out of the crazy schedule that we played, I actually saw on KenPom when we were doing the Oakland season review, we had the hardest strength of schedule out of conference, out of anybody in the country. Yeah,
Two
yeah. Credit,
years, 2 years
credit to
running.
Coach Campy right there. That was crazy. But like I truly believe that was the best defensive team we've seen. And we saw Michigan, we saw those, Houston, those big time schools, and they really just gave us so many fits and so many problems. Um, but I feel like I'm gonna lean St. John's here, and it's just because of how hot they've been playing. I normally like tend to be like, "Oh, they won their conference tournament, they're gonna be tired," but I just don't think it's the case with St. John's. They lost early last year, and they're gonna treat this like really seriously. When I saw St. John's here, I was like, "Oh." because I
Yep.
really like this Northern Iowa team. I think this will be a super fun game, but St.
Yeah.
John
I
gets it
think both of us thought that this would be maybe a falling 4 versus a rising 13. Instead, you got a rising 5. Like they do matter, like Big East champ, Big East tournament champ. It's maybe not predictive to win it all, but it is predictive to get to the Sweet 16. So it's like, it's so tough to see them out in the first round. Would love maybe might root for Northern Iowa there, but I think St. John's as well.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. All right, Kansas, Cal Baptist. Kansas, another up and down team. Again, it's really relied on is Darren Peterson healthy? Is can everything go right? Like, there's a lot of things with this Kansas story that have been super interesting, and a lot of people are down on Kansas. So I'm interested to see your thoughts on this game and what you have.
Yeah, I agree. We kind of hit this theme a lot with Cal Baptist, which again, amazing season out of the whack, but it wasn't the team that won the regular season, right? And to me, like that does matter because yes, getting hot at the right time is obviously what you want, but in these one bid leagues, you're going to have teams that are, 27-5, 26 and so like whatever it is. Utah Valley was that team. People had them in their bracket since
Yeah,
December, right? So Cal Baptist getting hot at the right time, right? Hitting a last second shot. I think it was a missed dunk that sent Utah Valley home.
something like that.
Crazy stuff, unreal March moment. Cal Baptist has to run into Kansas after Utah Valley was preparing for this game the entire year, right? So that's the stuff I look at where, we can talk more about it in the St. John's game, but I got to put Kansas through here too. And, maybe this is the one that takes me out, but I just think Kansas like has shown up against number one teams in the country. Cal Baptist had one good win in their last game. So it's just tough for me to put them in.
Yeah, I completely agree because like Kansas here, everybody's talking about them.
Of
Everybody's
course.
talking
Yeah.
about like what's going on here. I'm sure they're ready to shut the haters up and just
Good
dominate
point.
the game. So I really like Kansas here as well. And again, like it feels like we're going chalk with these two games, but again, it's just talking about it's Rick Pitino and Bill Self coaching these games.
Agreed.
They've done it so many times, and they got guys that really want to win these games. Like Melvin Council's an old guy on Kansas that's been playing a long time. Flory Badunga's done this before. Like they got guys that really want to win in March, and I think Kansas just be a little too much for Cal Baptist there. All right, Louisville, South Florida. This is probably one of the most interesting games in the tournament.
It
I'm
is.
curious to hear your thoughts here.
It is, Jake, and look at the time, 1:30 PM on Thursday. So if you think you know what you're talking about, switch it up because this game could send some people. And I agree, Louisville was one that, obviously injuries, brutal for this team down the stretch, but finished great in the ACC comparative to where, maybe North Carolina finished. Like some other teams that I thought were going to outrun them, like they did really well. So dangerous team, right? Michigan State probably didn't want to draw them in that same region, but yeah, South Florida, almost bubble team, won the American and the American tournament. I've got South Florida winning here. I think Louisville's injuries, even if they get everybody back, their main guard, you can remind me his name.
Michael Brown.
Yeah, Michael Brown, right? Even if he's playing, it's a little hobbled, right? So I think that South Florida, early slate could knock out a team that a lot of people have going through.
This game is gonna be played at a crazy frantic pace. Like, both
Yes,
of these teams play so fast, and it's going to be super fun to watch. Louisville with their volatile style of shooting so many threes. I'm super excited to see Ryan Conwell in this situation. He's one of my favorite players in college basketball this year. He's been super fun. But I tend to lean towards South Florida as well. The thing is, that's been the problem for Louisville down the stretch has been Michael Brown's health. When he doesn't play, there is no initiator of the offense. Ryan Conwell is very much a scorer, so he's not going to initiate the offense and pass the ball very much. It kind of turns into hero basketball for Louisville, and it just gets a little like frail. So the problem is you don't know if Michael Brown is going to play, and if he does play, then I'm kind of leaning like, what did I do? This is a terrible decision, right? But if you're looking at South Florida, they got my guy Isaiah Jones, who played at Oakland for 2 years. He was part of the team that won. I'm rooting for him. That's part of the reason I really wanted to go with South Florida here. But they've been awesome throughout the whole year. They're on a huge winning streak to finish the year. I'm super excited for South Florida to be here, be in this 11 seed. I'm gonna roll with South Florida as well.
I agree. Nate Oates' disciple at head coach, been playing excellent ball. Took care of business when it needed to happen. I think this is another game where they can match up with Louisville. Maybe Michael Brown's a little hobbled. Like, yeah, I agree.
Yeah. No, it'll be a super exciting game. That's gonna be really fun. That might be the game I'm circling the most in the first round. It's one of my favorites for sure. All right, Michigan State, North Dakota State. I feel like Michigan State's got this one handled. I haven't heard much on North Dakota State. You care if I just throw them in the next round?
Nope, I agree. I think the Michigan State has been playing really well. That tournament loss isn't going to hurt him. It's going to help him, right? Get some rest. So I agree.
Yeah. This UCLA UCF game really intrigues me a lot. We played UCF early in the year and lost to them by 4 points. They have two Milwaukee transfers that we played all of last year. We actually ended their season last year, and Themis Folks and Jalen Sitwell, and they're a fun team. They're a really interesting team. They had a lot of pressure on them. Their coach was in real hot seat, Johnny Dawkins, and he's done a fantastic job getting them to this situation. Like really a credit to them getting this 10 seed and being near the middle of the Big 12 throughout the whole year. Uh, UCLA has been really hot. The Big Ten tournament, they looked awesome. Donovan Dent looks like the Donovan Dent of old. He's really getting to the right spots and getting everything going. Sky Clark shooting well. The question is their big, Bilodeau. Will he be healthy in this game? He tweaked his ankle in the Big Ten tournament. So that's going to be a really interesting question to me because UCF plays tough. They're physical. They're really tough. Krugel's an excellent shooter for them and has been really tough. That's the thing here with March Madness. You don't know if somebody big is going to play. I think UCLA just played a really hot, like, type tournament game, and I actually picked them in my main bracket, but the more and more I talk about this game, the more and more I'm kinda leaning towards UCF, muddying the game up, really making it physical, and Themis Folks, who is an awesome guard, like, scored 40 points against the number 1 team in the country. He might have a monster game, so I'm kinda leaning now towards UCF. What are your thoughts?
I agree. 50-50 on this one. UCF has some really impressive wins, for an American team, like really impressive wins, or sorry, for a Big 12 team. So went out of conference and got some big ones, but obviously like getting Kansas and BYU, like was a top 10 team on everyone's radar, and they were able to knock off both. So it's like, which one shows up? I do think that Mick Cronin having to travel to Philadelphia is hilarious because that
Yeah.
guy hates traveling to the East Coast. So will they do it? But in terms of consistency, I think UCF is up and down. UCLA is trending up. I also have UCLA. I like Donovan Dent in the tournament.
You like Donovan Dent? Okay.
Hmm.
We'll roll with, UCLA then. Alright, so UConn, Furman. UConn, easy, I think.
I agree. Furman's one of the only names that I feel like has been in since 2019, but like all the other ones seem new, which could be an NIL situation, right? A lot of private schools getting some of their money into basketball. Furman has just been solid. Again, UConn trending down, watch out, but UConn with this draw, definitely.
Credit to Furman this year. A lot of freshmen on this roster, which
Yeah,
they normally don't do. So really credit to them for even making the tournament. They were a 6 seed in their conference
right.
tournament. So, I wanted to give them the biggest shout out because that's a really difficult thing to do. They're just running into Dan Hurley, who's ticked off after losing to St. John's. So, I mean, come on, man. You don't
Absolutely. Yeah.
chance there.
But
So,
no, I
um
agree. This is when the prep for next year starts because if Furman returns people, look at him again. If Furman loses people to the portal, this is like, it's a crazy, area of college basketball where making the tournament might lose you your players. So hopefully Furman obviously can take advantage of this tournament berth while they have it.
Yeah, and that's what we talked about off camera with Northern Iowa. You got like a returning roster that's all been there before. Like you have to look at that when you're looking at these teams. That's why I like Navy before they lost in their conference tournament. Like they had all their guys returning, and those are huge things to look at because of the camaraderie of that team. It's part of the reason why Oakland did what they did because of the camaraderie of the team. So, really focusing on that is definitely a huge thing when looking at these games. Let's go through the South and then we'll take a little break. We're kind of on a roll here. So, we'll roll with Florida over the 16.
Yep.
Clemson, Iowa. I want to hear your take on Iowa this year because I've watched them a little bit. I've more watched to see Bennett Sturts play. I haven't watched to see the whole team play. So, talk to me about how you've seen them playing and how you think they match up against Clemson.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy watching this Iowa team because they're the number one scoring defense in the country, right? And at least the Big Ten through February and March, which is when you need your defense to be performing well. So the Iowa old is gone, right? The 90-point scorers are gone. It's Bennett Sturts and then a whole bunch of dogs trying to lock up whoever they have, right? So in the Big Ten, that's kind of what you need, especially when you're trying to go against the top four teams, right? You need people that can just go 40 minutes of the hardest defense you've seen because usually on the other side you're outmatched. So I was really impressed with the Drake coach that came over and like, obviously who he brought with Bennett Sturts, but also like what he's implemented because it's really impressive to do this in Iowa to a team that's been top offense in Big Ten for a while, right? Like Luca Garza's just people putting up 40 a game. Like this is definitely a different team. I love their guard play, but this is going to be Bennett Sturt's tournament or it's going to be nothing, right? He's either going to retire as the legend who started in JUCO and now is right taking his team to the Sweet 16, or it's going to go out because he can't shoot the ball. Michigan did a great job of just they put Yaxel Landenberg on him and just locked him up, right? That's like what you need to do because offensively they have scorers, but it all runs through him, right? He does not sit. He's averaging 39 minutes a game. 39 minutes, like that's insane.
Yeah.
So it's going to be all on him. Defensively, I like them through the first round, but interested to see like what your thoughts are on Clemson if you have any inclinations before they get to Florida.
I haven't seen much of Clemson. Clemson's kinda like a same old that I look at, they're sometimes overachieved. They had that 5 seed the one year.
Yeah.
They're not a team I really take seriously when it comes tournament time. The ACC always has those teams that, like, overachieve within their conference, and then they don't do great in the tournament. One of the teams I'll look out for is Miami, Florida. I do like them. We talked about them when we, focused on the ACC a couple weeks ago. But, I wasn't a big fan of Clemson when I watched them this year, so, yeah, I had Iowa as well. I like how they're playing defensively, and Bennett Sturts has been playing like that guy, so I agree completely. Alright, let's look at this Vandy McNeese game. McNeese is back in the tournament even after the departure of Will Wade. Impressive by them. Talk to me about this game. Again, that SEC championship game was awesome. Vandy against Arkansas. It was a really, really fun game. I was watching that while I was excruciating through my 19-mile run. So, so talk to me a little bit about what you've seen from Vandy and this matchup with McNeese.
No, it was an excellent game, man. I really thought it could go either way, and whoever won was gonna get a notch up on my bracket because like that was an impressive atmosphere to go into Nashville and win that many games in the SEC tournament because it was so deep this year. They had 10 teams in the tournament, like that it was a very deep conference tournament. So very impressed with what Vanderbilt did. You remember like back when we were talking beginning, Vanderbilt was a team that I did not take seriously, right? I mean, they were obviously showing the metrics early, but I did not think that they were going to do what they did come January, February, March, just because they hadn't been there before, right? But real credit to their team. They have the seventh best offense in the country, right? For a team that I don't think anyone has their top players on draft boards or anywhere, right? They're using the team dynamic to be the top 10 offense that they need, right? So looking at predictive measurements, right? You want to have a top 10, top 15 offense, top 20, top 25 defense, right? They're sitting at 7-31. So they're not far off from that metric, right? That's a complete team. And obviously the SEC had a lot of people go up and down about who was going to be the best team. Florida obviously, came out on top, but to do what they did in the SEC tournament, right? To knock off Florida and then to get all the way there, I think that they are definitely someone that I'd be surprised with how hot they are now if they drop to a 12 seed. Love McNeese, but I really think that 7-31 shows a balance to me that I would put them in to the next round.
Yeah, and as you can see, I already agreed. Put them in the next round.
Perfect.
Yeah, they're awesome. They really just impressed me, and I'll talk about them later as well as we go into matchups. Like I'm super excited about them. They're one of the more fun teams that I've seen for sure. All right, let's look at Nebraska versus Troy. This game is super interesting to me. Nebraska just lost early, right? And they're a team full of shooters that can be hot and cold. Like there was plenty of games. Like I was watching the Nebraska Purdue game with Drew Comer, who went to Purdue. So he's locked in on this game. Purdue's up like 15, and he's like, I don't care. we are gonna blow this game. Nebraska gets super hot. They go in stretches, and it's what happened when they played them at Nebraska. Nebraska hit a ton of threes, tie game, overtime. I think Purdue still snuck out. I'm not positive on that result, but like again, like Nebraska can do that to a team. You know, really impressive season, and there's a lot of pressure on this team to win a tournament game. They've never done it, never in their history. So I'm really excited for this game. If you look at Troy's schedule, they played some really tough teams throughout the year. They didn't win very many of them, but they played some really tough teams. And I like the shooting that they have. Like they're a really good shooting team and defensive team. I actually have Troy in this one. I think there's too much pressure on Nebraska to win this game. And I mean, I can just see social media going crazy with Nebraska losing this game. But I want to hear your thoughts here.
Yeah, I agree, which pains me. I think I was, half and half more, because I felt bad. I feel like this one is bigger than the stats, you know? Like, this is seeing them lose that first Big Ten tournament game, it felt like the weight of March was on this team's shoulders. They finished second in the Big Ten. Like, people aren't talking about how crazy that season is for Nebraska. Like, that is so impressive for them to finish second, only for none of it to matter because all they need is to beat Troy for this season to be successful. I was really, really disappointed to see their draw, but also now's the time, right? Troy winning their regular season, and we already talked about it, win their regular season and their tournament. You're getting the best out of the Sun Belt. So it's really, really tough to see that draw at 12:40 p.m. on Thursday, right? Right whenever all the upsets are happening. So I also have Troy.
Yeah, I mean, like,
I do love Price Sanford. I think that he can be even better than a Sturts in tournament time because he's got a more complete team. But man, is it tough?
yeah, I mean, the thing is like I just looked at the schedule that Troy played. Like they beat San Diego State on the road, a team that probably if Utah State is not in their conference, they're in because Utah State's awesome, which we'll get to. But like these games are just really impressive. How about beating Akron in February and beating them by 10? You know, and Akron's a 12 seed and finished the year awesome, you know? So
Yep,
I'm really excited about Troy. I think they're really good. And people are undervaluing them. I think it's just a really tough draw for Nebraska here.
I agree. I'll be rooting for him, but I could see if you pick the upset here, I'm not blaming you. I
Yeah.
agree.
All right, North Carolina, VCU. Another team I just feel bad for, man. Like Caleb Wilson was so much fun to watch. So much fun to watch. And they've had games of going up and down. Like Henry Visar is kind of keeping them going. He's really, really good big for them. And then Trimble's had a lot of pressure on him to try to succeed for North Carolina. But VCU is a really fun story. Phil Martelli Jr. in his first year there, and he's turned it around, man. Getting them through the tournament and getting that W against Dayton yesterday, I believe, and they've looked awesome. They play with a team identity, like really focused on it. I'm really excited about this game. I was going back and forth because I feel like it's the obvious pick to kind of pick VCU here because of the North Carolina injuries. I just think it's a little too much for the Tar Heels. Like, I'm gonna go VCU. It's more because of how much I like Phil Martelli Jr. and how much I like his story. And they had a terrible first round matchup last year, wherever he was last year. But I think he's gonna get it done this year. He's got a team that's really raring to go, and I think it's gonna be a really fun game, like down to the wire fun. But I got VCU sneaking out.
I agree. Yeah, I got to shout out my guy Phil Martelli Sr., who was a
Yeah.
associate coach when I was at Michigan. Awesome guy, but obviously a legend in college basketball. Had St. Joe's at number one back in the day when we used to reward winning. Had St. Joe's at the number one seed. So um, I agree. I like how VCU's playing. I think that Lazar Djokovic, as I've come to learn, is one of the most exciting bigs to play. Like he's obviously shooting the ball so well, but also just like if you need a tall guard, like he's just going to light it up. So love how VCU's playing. I think North Carolina, unlike Louisville, showed that they could go down with injuries. Louisville could stay steady, you know. So I agree. I think VCU sneaks it out here, but love my heels. So it was really tough to see that injury, man. You don't want to root for that in the season. So that was really tough.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And talk about another fun team to root for, Penn. That game yesterday, TJ Baxter, like I'll remember your name now. 44 points, 14 rebounds, and then has that the tying three in that game. That was just ridiculous. Unbelievable performance for Penn to make it in here. And then now you get Illinois, who's a team that, you know, this is probably the best, like, so this team is awesome. I love Illinois. I love the guys on this team. But if you want to equate one team to Kentucky 2 years ago, it would be this team. They're a really, really good offense with a little bit of a mad defense, you know? Um, I do not have the guts to pick Penn. I just don't. But because I've seen Illinois this year and there's a little more talent to me on this Illinois team than a Kentucky. And there's a little more experience on this team as well, especially coming off the bench, which is why I think I'm taking Illinois. But I think this Penn team could make some noise. Like, I would not be shocked if Penn's winning this game at halftime, you
I
know?
agree. I agree. Zoom out on this bracket because it's the greatest bracket that has ever been created by bracket makers. It is so tough. Like from 1 to 11, it is just crazy. Shout out to the bracket makers on this one. They really did their thing. Uh, Illinois, obviously, a team that I've been watching, so heavy this season. You've already given all the stats. I agree. I love storylines. I think that Illinois, if they fell to a 4, like you said, was a team that might be on upset watch because they got to a 3. Really like obviously thankful for that draw. Storylines. Penn, Fran McCaffrey taking his 5th
Yeah.
team to the NCAA tournament. Fran's last Big Ten loss, Illinois, right? Brad Underwood. So
Wow.
getting revenge right away, a guy who knows how to coach him. Um, yeah, if this was Yale, if this was Yale who had single digit losses and got to Illinois, I'd be a little more scared. Penn obviously just came on at the right time, but I have Illinois advancing here. I think the Yugoslavian army that he has back there running the backcourt and the front court, I think that they're going to get it done. And Brad's already broken the seal on Sweet 16. He's got the guys to do it again. He got to the Elite Eight with a similar team and lost. Hopefully they can use that Wagler freshman sensation and get to another really big game in Houston. I'm looking forward to watching them play.
Yeah, me too. Me too, for sure. Talk about a team that we have fallen for so many times is the St. Mary Gales. And I mean, it's the truth. Like, they play a great style of basketball, and they're continuing to play that style. They're continuing to sit at that 7 seed. Um, they played in a tougher conference this year. Like, Santa Clara is no joke, which we'll talk about later, and Gonzaga's playing really, really good basketball. This is a very interesting game. A&M's a little bit of an overlooked team. They've been really good this year. Like, they make it tough on anybody that they play. I remember watching early in the year because they lost to UCF. So I think we were doing film on them on that game. And I was really impressed with the athletes that A&M had. Like, I thought that was a legitimate win. And this first year head coach has done a terrific job with A&M this year. I actually have A&M getting out of this. I think they've just played in a tough conference, and I'm tired of falling for St. Mary's. So I think that's kind of where I'm leaning, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts here.
Yeah, I told myself I'd never pick St. Mary's again, so I'm going Texas A&M here. If you flip the seeds, I bet this is the most picked upset in the bracket. It's just classic. But the fact that Texas A&M is underrated in the great, not the best conference, but maybe the deepest conference in the country, I think that St. Mary's pace isn't going to affect these athletes. I think Texas A&M.
For sure. For sure. All right. Well, I think we both got Houston here getting
Yep.
out against Idaho. So
Yeah.
we're going to take a quick break. And then for this episode, we'll finish doing the first round. So we'll be back in a second. All right, we are back, and let's get into the West here. So we got Arizona beating Long Island. Let's move into Villanova, Utah State. And this one's interesting because Villanova, again, looked pretty solid throughout the year. They played some teams tough. The Big East kind of beat up on them. They couldn't really compete with St. John's. They couldn't really compete with UConn throughout the year. So this is really interesting. And then Utah State is a super fun team, like super fun. Jarrett Calhoun has done an awesome job with them, and people really think that they are underseeded as a 9 seed. It's a really interesting matchup. I kind of got Utah State in a runaway, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, Jake picked Utah State. Everybody's shocked. No, I agree. I don't want to pick every 9 seed, but man, I love the 9 seeds this year. Utah State won, both conference and tournament, and they're playing in San Diego against Villanova, who has to travel from the East Coast. I agree. Let's go Utah State here.
Alright, like it, like it. So Wisconsin High Point. This one, I think might be the most tricky 5-12. Uh,
Agreed.
we talked about St. John's in Northern Iowa, and that one just hurt my soul because I like Northern Iowa so much. This one just makes the most sense, like completely. You got a Wisconsin team that is very guard driven, that is very shot driven. And like they're very much they shoot threes a lot. Rick Mast has been great throughout the season. They're big. Jonathan Blackwell has been the man. And then Nick Boyd had 38 points in the game before Michigan. So like you got awesome crew at Wisconsin. But then you got a High Point team that made the tournament last year and brought mostly everybody back and is dying to win a game. Dying.
Hmm.
And that's the thing where I'm a little bit at loss here and I kind of want to defer to you.
Yeah, this is so tough. I agree. I wanted Northern Iowa in this matchup. I wanted the defense versus Wisconsin's offense, right, to stifle them. Because we have two high scoring offense, right? My pick is probably the over. I think, live and die on this over.
I
I
wish
will
we could
say,
advance that. I
yeah,
wish we could advance the over.
I will say Wisconsin, unlike last year, which I think that was them and JMU, right? Which same situation here. Guard heavy offense versus Wisconsin, same deal. Wisconsin was trending down last year. I really think they're trending up. They had that like great win against Michigan. And then instead of like just mulling as the 5 or 6 seed in the Big Ten, they kept racking up wins, right? They went to Illinois and won. They picked up one against Purdue, right? So I think they're trending up. Even the Michigan game in the Big Ten tournament, they really should have not should have won, but had a chance, right, to win that game. So really tough because it could go either way based on who's making shots. I do like what you said about High Point returning people. I just think Wisconsin is trending upward and they can do what High Point does at a Big Ten level. So I'm probably going Wisconsin here. But if you sway the other way, it's 50-50.
I wanna go with you. I have High Point in mind, but I was pulling hairs. Like, I didn't know what to do. Like, this is such a hard game because I really like this Wisconsin team. They're playing so great. Boyd is a fun watch. Blackwell, having him be from the state of Michigan is awesome. I actually played against him in high school, which is crazy to say. So, it's super cool. I think it would be a super fun game. I think going Wisconsin. I don't know, but okay. I'm good with
I
that.
agree. Thursday at 2 p.m. also. So this is one that'll break the bracket.
Exactly, exactly. So, super exciting game there. Alright, next one, Arkansas, Hawaii. Don't sleep on Hawaii. We played at Hawaii last year, and they have a fantastic coaching staff. Like, the adjustments they were making in that game against them. Now, the refs might have screwed us, and we might have lost because of that, but that's me just being a competitor. They were a fantastic team. They're a fantastic coach team. They have a lot of guys returning. They're a really interesting team here, but Arkansas like, what an SEC tournament. Darius Acuff is that guy. And, everybody said it to me over and over again. Like, why don't you have him higher? What are you doing? He is that guy. He is playing such good basketball. And I just keep raising him up and up and up because of just the game looks like it's in slow motion for him. He's moving, he's able to get off 2 feet so easily, like, the numbers he's putting up is just absolutely ridiculous. Now, do I love him defensively? No. That's the only reason I've been so stifled on him, but he is so fantastic offensively, and I really wanna give him the credit he deserves there. Malik Thomas playing great, Billy Richmond playing awesome as well, and then Brazil adds the size a little bit. He's been fantastic as a rim protector for them. This is a really interesting game because I feel like Arkansas is playing against a really good coaching staff. I think Arkansas just has a little too much going for them right now. That's why I pick Arkansas, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts here.
Yeah, this one, I saw Hawaii get matched up against Arkansas. I was like, oh no. Like this just screams upset. I love Arkansas. I talked about it from the beginning, but Darius Acuff is one of my favorite players. I love Calipari. I think that his move from Kentucky to Arkansas, while different, from a legacy perspective, but so fun for
Mhm.
him to go to a different SEC team that has a much different basketball culture and just bring them back to the tournament where they, belong every single year. Being a team that has a lot of money to throw at basketball, right? They're obviously a football state, but basketball runs in Arkansas. So I love Calipari. I won't, speak too much about it because I'm nervous. Hawaii and Oregon, a
Yeah.
lot of fans out there, like a ton. Like you've seen Oregon's football team, it's half Hawaiians, and they recruit so well. So I do. It's a tough matchup, but I think last time Calipari had a Derrick Rose like guard was Derrick Rose, and they went to the final game. So I think Arkansas with Darius Acuff is that same team. They play defense in spite of him, and they play offense because of him. I think it's, they're basically giving him the ball and saying, go win us a game. And sometimes that's what matters, right? All these stats are important, but when you're playing a team like Hawaii where you can't scout enough, you've never seen a team like this because you're not going to travel to Hawaii to play them, right? Oakland did it 2 years ago, and you already, are still pulling references from it because it's such a hard team to scout. I think that you got to lean man versus man. I think Darius Acuff takes it, and I'm really like Arkansas in this tournament. I think that what they did in the SEC tournament is really impressive, and people should take notice because yeah, Florida was the best team, but that was a tough tournament, a deep tournament, and they really turned it on when they needed to.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like, I normally look at, oh, you win the tournament, like I should be hesitant of you. But the thing is like every time there was a clutch moment, Acuff made a play. Every single time. And that just doesn't stop in March, you know? And
Yep.
that's the thing where I'm like, okay, like I may not like him or love him as an NBA guy, but like he is an absolute stud as a college guard, like probably the best college guard in this tournament. So I that's why you gotta lean towards him, in my opinion. If this is a close game, I think Acuff will just hit more shots than Hawaii can match.
Yeah. This one scares me more than Wisconsin High Point, but both are going to be insane games. Both
Yeah.
in Portland, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really fun. I'm super excited for this bracket is really interesting because
Yeah.
I'm excited for this next one too in BYU. Well, first of all, who would you have, Texas or NC State?
Yeah, I'm like super happy Texas got in. I think that they were legit, and also like Final Four, win your way in. It's not, I can't get mad about them putting Texas in over other teams because they still have to win, right? NC State, I was surprised. I thought they did enough to make the tournament outright. I thought this was going to be Texas, Missouri, or something like that. I was really surprised to see them here. I like NC State. I like Will Wade. Obviously knowing him, he's probably on the way out somewhere. Who knows where he's taking his guys next? But I really like his team. A lot of portal guys took a while to figure it out. Obviously Trey Holloman from Michigan State, and then all their guys from McNeese. So I like NC State here, but Texas did enough. And there are a couple of games right where they beat some teams on the bubble in the regular season where those games matter a lot right now. So proud of Texas for getting in. I think I'd do NC State, but I'm interested to hear what you think, and then obviously who you pick over with BYU getting the BYU game.
Yeah, NC State's interesting. Again, it's pretty much all the McNeese guys that were able to win last year, and then Trey Holloman, of course. And then you got Texas, who's led by Dylan Swain, and Swain's been awesome throughout the whole year. So I feel like no matter who wins this game, it's going to be a very difficult matchup for BYU. Uh, BYU's a 6 seed. They finished 10th in the Big 12. And, like, it was tough. Ever since Richie Saunders has gone down, it has
Yeah,
not been the same for BYU. It's
yeah,
been AJ Debinsa, go get us a bucket, or Robert Wright, go get us a bucket. There's not much movement. Like, Saunders was very much their movement guy off floppy action or anything like that to try to make plays. And I don't like offenses when there's not a lot of movement. The ball stops, it's not great. Debinsa probably will be the number 1 overall pick. But I don't see this team getting past this game. I just don't. No matter who wins it, Texas or NC State. I feel like Dylan Swain is such a tough defender and such a like he has so much control of the ball on offense as well that it makes Texas's offense run really well. It might have a better matchup for that game because it's two heliocentric offenses going against each other. But NC State can shoot the lights out. I mean, they beat North Carolina by 30 at their place, and can really get going. Copeland's an excellent scorer for them, and he was the excellent scorer that went off against for McNeese last year as well. So I'm super excited about this matchup. I would go the 11 seed no matter what happens, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I agree. I would go the 11 seed here. I think that we were already, not knocking AJ, but maybe his team on the defensive efforts. And it's really fallen off without Richie. They're bottom, not bottom, but outside top 50. Like it's just a really tough slide that they've been on. So I agree. Texas and NC State, a lot more question marks than answers, but March is when you do that. And yeah, I agree. I like both either of them to come out of this one. And even if BYU pulls off this win, it's going to take a lot out of them. So, interested to see that game. I think it should be very evenly matched. A lot of 6-11 games are this year, so I'm excited to see this one.
Yeah. I don't have much to say on this Gonzaga Kennesaw State game. I think Gonzaga is going to roll. What about you?
I agree. Yeah, no, props to Kennesaw State. Another one you got shout out for making the tournament because
Yeah.
it's been a long time coming. Very new to the D1 scene, and both football and basketball have risen with NIL. They're able to keep people. So it's really impressive what they're doing. You know, Gonzaga's got some people injured. They've gotten better afterward, right? And a little bit different from other teams. But, hopefully Kennesaw State can, again, they should be proud of the season already, but hopefully they give it a good fight as well against a Gonzaga team that maybe you can take advantage of down low.
Yeah, for sure. Miami, Missouri. This is a weird game. I like Miami's guys just a little bit more. Again, I've watched them a little bit more, and I love Jay Lucas, the new coach for Miami. He's done an excellent job really turning the sail on this team. They got Ray New, the good big on their team, and then they got Trey Donaldson from Michigan last year. I think Miami's just going to have a little bit too much, and they've had that tournament success in the past. So I'm going to roll Miami here. What about
Yeah,
you?
I agree. I agree with you. I think that Trey Donaldson is meant for the tournament. He got Michigan to the Sweet 16, almost solo some games, like really came on at the end. When games where Danny Wolf wasn't having great games. So that's my experience, but also loved watching him against North Carolina and Louisville. I think they play really hard. So yeah, I think Miami as well.
Yeah, and then, assuming Purdue over Queens. Queens, shout out, making the tournament, and
Shout
that's
out Queens.
yeah,
Agreed. That was a
it's the
crazy
first
tournament win
year I
for them,
think they're
but
eligible, right?
yeah, it's
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
yeah, so
Also getting to a 15 seed, like that matters for these small teams. Like, I mean, as you know, right, getting past the 16 barrier is huge because that's when you get to teams that are vulnerable. I don't think Purdue is anymore, but love that Queens obviously was able to turn it on when they needed to in March.
for sure, for sure. Michigan having to maybe see UMBC, that
Scary,
but,
scary.
I think we can both agree that they'll be able to get past that.
I
Uh,
agree. I agree.
yes, Georgia, St. Louis here. This is a really interesting game because you imagine Georgia and you imagine how they've played in the past, and they're normally like a super athletic, get into you physically defense, like really tough team. This year, they're just a frantic, fast paced offense that is really shooting the lights out and really difficult. Another team that does that is St. Louis. Really good shooting team, really good all over the place, and they're upset that they lost that game against Dayton. They feel cheated out of that game. Like what an unbelievable finish to that game. You hit a three, you're up one, and then Dayton goes down, tips it in, and wins the game. Really just a brutal loss for them. I think they're going to be fueled by that and be able to get this done. I think Georgia's a really interesting team though, and it's going to I think a lot of questions about St. Louis will be answered in this game. Like, are they actually that legit team that can compete with the big boys? Because Georgia does like kind of pull out things for you where it answers a lot of questions.
Yeah, I agree. When Michigan got put in this bracket, I was like, please not St. Louis, please not St. Louis, because, even though they did lose in that tournament, they did enough last year and this year to be an at-large team. Like that is so impressive. And you got to look at that as a tournament win for them, right? Like the fact that they were in without needing to win their A10 tournament, that's huge because they have a returning roster. They have some great portal ads. They shoot the ball well. Hate the matchup for Michigan. I think they can beat Georgia, though. That's probably who they wanted to get out of the 8 seeds.
Yeah, yeah, agreed. Um, let's move into Texas Tech Akron. I normally love Akron. They've been really, really good, and I picked them to win the MAC again. They're great again. It was an unbelievable win against Toledo. Like that was a super fun game to watch. I was rooting for Toledo because of the two Detroit guards. Um, and Akron just an unbelievable finish to that game, able to get it done. They are a scary 12 seed. This is the first time they've had a great matchup in Texas Tech. JT Toppin out for the year. I remember texting you and us going, "Oh my gosh, this is terrible for Texas Tech." Um, the thing is though, is they have not looked that bad without JT Toppin.
Agreed.
They've been playing really good, and I feel like a lot of people are just gonna look, "Oh, JT Toppin's out. They're so vulnerable, they're done." I'm not one of those guys. I think Texas Tech is legit. They're shooting the ball really well. I think Christian Anderson is one of the most underrated point guards in college basketball. I think Tech still gets out of this game, even though a lot of people will pick Akron.
I agree. I was very surprised with how they got seemingly better without JT Toppin, and maybe it's just because they locked in when they needed to, but yeah, they're vulnerable. Akron could take advantage, but the fact that Anderson's playing that well, I think that Texas Tech is keeps rolling, and yeah, I like them to be dangerous in this tournament.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm very much in agreement there. Alabama Hofstra, I'm curious to hear your thoughts here. I've talked about Alabama before, how much, I dislike just offensive teams compared to defensive teams, but talk to me about the matchup with a mid-major like Hofstra, who is hot, who is rolling, so
Yeah, no, love that Hofstra's in the tournament. First time since Jay Wright was the coach, which is crazy to think about. But the point guard on that team is now the head coach at Hofstra, right? So
yeah.
redoing what he did when he was a player. So love to see that from a mid-major perspective. Yeah, I think that, Alabama's always on the vulnerable list of teams because of their defense. But they've also given us a lot of study on what is the difference between a Final Four team for them versus an early exit. Because they've been doing this now for what, 5 years? Like Nate Oates has been in the dance. This isn't a hot team, right? He's had a program that's been number one in the country, over the past couple of years. So obviously didn't have that performance this year, but I did see Alabama in person, and their guards are legit. And they've always had, obviously, right, those, really solid Jalen Brunson type guards, who could really shoot the ball with volume but control the pace. This year they're fast. Like they are actually legitimately fast guards. So what I like is they can really attack the basket in the fast break and not rely all on the three. Sure, they launch, but they can also really there is like a long team that gets downhill fast. And they were able to do that against Illinois and really take advantage of some slow bigs. So Phylon is my guy. I think that he is, hopefully not going to lose a step playing against a team that they definitely should beat, right? That's your worries. They come and shoot 35% because they're like, oh, this game doesn't matter. But I really, really like both Phylon and Holloway. I think that Alabama can roll here. It's going to be a great Texas Tech Alabama game, like a great game. Christian Anderson versus these guards is going to be incredible. So I like Alabama here. Strupp, obviously has the people to do it, but God, it's hard to catch up when they're putting 90 points on you? So yeah, it'll be a really interesting game.
Yeah, I'm in complete agreement. Bama's been playing great basketball.
Yeah,
And again, they lost early in that SEC tournament, and they're probably like, "What the heck happened?"
right.
How did we lose to Ole Miss? You know, so really going back into that film room, I like teams that actually have to do that because then they can see all of their weaknesses and develop. That's what Purdue did before the Big Ten tournament. They saw all of their defensive stuff and then fixed it. Right. Great coaches do that. Nate Oates is a great coach. I'm really excited to see Alabama move on in this tournament. I'm very excited for that. An SEC team that we considered to be a little overrated and like, what the heck is going on? Two of them are in this finish with Tennessee and Kentucky. But let's focus on Tennessee here a little bit. They're going to play the winner of undefeated, well, used to be undefeated, Miami, Ohio, and SMU. Thank God Miami, Ohio is in the tournament. Shout out to them. Unbelievable season. Um, I don't see Tennessee getting out against either of these 11 seeds. But talk to me about your opinion a little bit.
Yeah, no, I mean, I have my gripes about Miami, Ohio being in the play-in. I think they were like one spot away from not being in it. Obviously, as if the listeners don't know, you make the tournament based on how you did in the season, and then you're seeded based on how people think you will do in the tournament, which is predictive measurements, right? So, naturally, with how they ended the year and also their strength schedule, they were going to be the last seed, probably no matter what. Which, how far we've fallen from the days when people that go 33-0 can make a
Yeah.
7 or 6, 5 seed, right? Like, I think it's ridiculous they're sitting at 11, but I'm just glad they're in, right? I'm glad they're dancing. They're playing in Dayton, Ohio, right? They're like an hour from home. It's going to be loud. I'm super excited for this game. Um, I think they can do it. Like, I think that if this was a team that was 25-7 and won the MAC, like people would be picking them to upset, right? I hate the negativity around them because they didn't play a great schedule. Like, who did Hofstra play? Like you know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
um, also, MAC two bid league. Shout out to the MAC. Akron's
Mhm.
at 12. So,
Yeah.
like, you tell me that they're 3 spots better than Akron? Like, they beat them twice during the regular season. So, I have my gripes. I'm just happy the committee got it right and put them in because I think they can really take advantage of Tennessee. I think Tennessee is someone that has a lot of holes. I'm excited to see that game. Um, I'd probably have Miami winning the first game and then a 50-50, toss up on the second. So interested to see what you think about Tennessee and maybe like a Miami Ohio matchup.
Yeah, the playing game is really gonna decide this for me because I think SMU could beat Tennessee.
Okay.
They're a really tough team, very guard driven, and have been awesome throughout the whole year in the ACC. And then Miami, Ohio, like I think them playing in Dayton, it's going to be so tough for SMU to sneak
Yeah.
out of that game. But I think Tennessee would be able to handle them pretty good because they're physical, they're tough, they're going to be able to get under their skin a little bit. So I think realistically, we should probably put Tennessee in the second round
Agreed.
just to be safe there. But it's a really interesting matchup, especially that first game. Like that's probably going to be the most fun Dayton game.
Yeah,
So
that's gonna be a blast.
yeah, so I'm super excited for that. But I think just rolling with Tennessee here to be safe is probably the move.
I agree.
Okay. Virginia, Wright State. I'm picking Virginia. The Horizon will not get past. Wright State, shout out to them. They were fantastic this year. Kenny Pickett is a sensational freshman big that will go somewhere next year. Like he's that good, you know. I think this year, I mean, he started out on their bench and then he moved into their starting lineup and had some of the biggest blocks near the end of the game in that Horizon League championship game against Detroit. And then you got Birch, who's a really tough defender. He won the Horizon Defensive Player of the Year. And then Pagonis, fantastic shooter for them. They got a great team, and they're really loaded. They're really deep, but they're young. You know, they're a very young team, and you're going up against Virginia. Wright State, they actually played Miami, Ohio. They lost to Miami, Ohio, and they struggled with teams that were just bigger than them, right? They really handled us during the season. Credit to them, and they handled everybody in the Horizon League, which was really sensational. It hasn't been dominated like that in a while. I mean, we didn't even dominate it that much, you know, when we made it. So, credit to them. Really an unbelievable season. But you're going against a Virginia team that should have beaten Duke on Saturday, you know, and Virginia's just playing really, really good basketball. Ryan Odom's got those guys rolling, and he's not going to lose that game. So, I got Virginia.
Yeah, I agree. I think Wright State held on and Virginia got hot. So, this might look like an Oakland Kentucky matchup. Hopefully we get a game like that. But I agree. I think Virginia going all the way to the ACC tournament championship versus Wright State, who was holding on against a hot UDM. Like, I think that Virginia's in the right spot here.
Yeah, for sure. Kentucky, Santa Clara. This game, really interesting. Again, I talked about how Kentucky's like, you know, there's holes, stuff like that. Denzel Aberdeen continues to answer questions. He is a stud, an absolute stud. He plays such good basketball. His scoring has been off the charts. He is a winner. I love watching that guy play. I think that's like the biggest high in Kentucky. And I'm telling you, this team would be so good if Jaden Quaidens could just stay healthy. Like
Mhm.
that's the one piece they're missing. Their bigs, like they just don't have enough rim protection. And it like hurts because I watched Quaidens play and he was so valuable for the team and then he just can't play, you know? And that's where you run into a team like Santa Clara who's been playing awesome all year. And it makes me think, all right, I think Santa Clara's got this one. But that's just me.
Yeah, I saw Kentucky's logo and I put them in the Elite Eight. So no, I'm just kidding. It's so tough when you're like Kentucky's supposed to lose because I feel like several tournaments over my lifetime they've gone on a run as an 8 or a
Yeah.
7 or like it doesn't matter where they are, they're Kentucky. So this one was tough. Santa Clara, the new St. Mary's for me. It's like, do I fall into the trap? But they shoot 40% from three on multiple guys. Like that's tournament for me. Like that's doesn't matter what pace of play you're playing. If you can shoot 40% from three and your top three shooters, like that's crazy. I think that I agree. I think that Santa Clara's year. I think they get it done, and then it's going to be a great matchup against Iowa State in this next round.
Love it. Love it. So we'll roll Iowa State in there. And that's gonna wrap up the podcast episode. So first of all, Asher, thanks for doing this. This is awesome. Dude, March is here. March is here, man. And I'm super excited for it. We're gonna actually finish the bracket, so Asher's gonna stay on. But if you want to watch the rest of the bracket, because I know it can get long, I try to keep these podcast episodes short. Please check in on the YouTube because I will throw an extra video on there of us finishing the bracket. So that's going to wrap up the podcast episode. So I'll see you guys later. Peace.